It's kind of funny, this morning I opened the door to go out to go to work and I was telling my one little cat, sorry Ari, you're not going out right now. And of course he was able to dart out the door when I opened it because I had my hands full of stuff I was carrying. So I set my stuff down on the railing. He usually likes to go outside and just rub all over the steps, you know, and everything. Doesn't really run off. But as soon as I set my stuff down to catch him and bring him back in, he just turned around and walked back over toward the door. And I opened the door for him and he went back in. I guess he decided 48 degrees was too cold to be out today, so he's gonna wait for the sunshine to show up, I guess. He's a crazy little guy. But you know, I've been seeing some stuff, some of these Filipino, Philippine expat, I should say, YouTubers lately. Some interesting stuff. I saw the one British guy, the British expat in the Philippines / grumpy expat, talking about how today when he was going to the dentist, drove by a shooting scene. Then I saw just a few minutes ago he posted a little update, like 4 or 5 people got shot or killed. I think somebody, a tricycle driver, got run over after the Toyota SUV got shot up, I guess. So I don't know if that was some political thing or whatever. And he's talking about how lots of shooting over there this time of the year or before the elections and stuff. And I saw another video. I didn't watch it, just a little tiny bit of it. This one other guy who likes to make videos talking about how bad things suck over in the Philippines. He's back over here now in America, and I guess his wife and his 4 stepchildren, they're still over there. But he posted a little clip that she shot talking about how all the druggies and drug dealers and stuff over there and raping little girls and everything. Some of these guys make it sound like the Philippines is pretty screwed up. But I saw this video by Sunshine Shoulders. Some of you, I'm sure, probably know who he is. I've watched his videos. I've seen a few of them. I never really, got into it, like watching it every day or something like that. But he's been back in America for a little bit, and he was had a video the other day talking about what a mistake it was to come back here and start getting used to all the conveniences that he'd forgot about. How all his favorite brands of products are always in stock, and how you don't have to wait in line all the time forever for everything. I was telling my wife about that, and she said, yeah, the Philippines will help you work on your patience, And those are things that Americans get used to, having everything instantly. We've got all the self-checkout and stuff over here anymore, which is mainly just because all the companies want to reduce the cost of having employees. It's not like they're doing it for our convenience. It is convenient sometimes if you don't want to stand in line and you've only got a couple items to run over there and just run it through the scanner and pay for it and be gone. Though obviously there are plenty of people who use that as an opportunity to not scan everything they bought, and then you have to end up having employees watch people doing it to make sure they're not stealing stuff. So I'm not sure how well it works out for some people, but obviously the driving force behind that is not convenience for the customers, because it would be convenient to have cashiers there too, and you could just walk up and have them check you out. But the company wants to do everything by automation so they can reduce their payroll and make more money, and have a better profit. So, as with most things in every place, not just America, that's a lot of the the motivation behind that. And everywhere you go these days, you can't find a human to deal with. It's just like trying to call customer service, about something. You end up getting all these automated things, and you have to sit there and waste 15-20 minutes of your time before you can finally get to talk to a human if you need to. And it's the same thing. Now you go fast food, they want you to use the kiosk to do everything. You can't just walk into McDonald's and say, "Hi, I'd like a quarter pounder meal, please," and pay for it. You have to stand there and screw around at the kiosk and put in this and that, and then it tries to ask you, do you want this too, and this and that. And by the time you get through, you've wasted like 2 minutes just trying to do something. You could have walked up and told the cashier, "Yeah, do this," and she could have punched a button and your food would have been on the way. So it's always some crap, and then trying to get the scanner to work, and if you scan your credit card or whatever, or if you've got an app and you want to use your discount. But everywhere you go, they're trying to make things as automated as possible. It's not for your convenience. It's generally just for their bottom line, which is understandable if you're running a business. But if you're running a business that's based on customer service, it can be kind of a pain in the ass sometimes. It's kind of nice to have the option of letting people just do things, by a kiosk, if they're the kind of person that just doesn't want to have to deal with humans or whatever, and go in, deal with the kiosk, and put in their little order, and you go sit at their table and wait for the number to be called or something, and they don't have to talk to anybody. So maybe there's a day when you're not interested in talking to any humans. But there are a lot of modern conveniences here that you don't have in other places. No matter what the frustrations are or things like that. Here in America, we are very spoiled as far as having the modern conveniences. Let me back into my parking spot here. But Sunshine Shoulders was talking about that. He said how this is saying you can't miss what you never had. And in his case, it's like you can't miss what you forgot about. And after being in the Philippines for a while, there's a lot of that stuff that he'd forgotten about. And that's the way things are. You kind of get used to being in a place and you forget about the way things were in the previous place. And you just get used to that new way of life. But that's the same anywhere. That would be like the same as moving into a new city or something, even here in America. You go from one place to another. You have to get used a lot of times to a different way of doing things. You move from a big city. It's like before when I moved from Pittsburgh out to this little town in Oklahoma where all my family had ended up. And man, you talk about culture shock, Totally different way of doing things. Little tiny town out there. Actually, that was like 35 years ago when that first happened. And in the years since then, it's gone way downhill. It's like a ghost town practically when we were out there the last time. When I first went out there, it wasn't like that. And especially with all my brother there and my mom and my sister. And then, my brother started having kids and all his kids and running around all the time doing things with them. But I thought about that sometimes, it's kind of like the difference between America and the Philippines. America is kind of like living in the city, and having everything you want right there. Whatever you need, all the conveniences. And you go to the Philippines, and even though obviously they have big cities and stuff where you've got access to everything you want, but it's kind of more like that small town kind of thing where it might not be as quick and convenient to do everything you want to do. If you want something, it's going to take a little bit longer to get it, perhaps. And you just have to develop more patience and understand that maybe sometimes you want to go do something or get something. it might be an all-day project compared to living in the big city and have everything you want right down the block. As I say, that's just saying that as kind of like a general thing, because there are places you can live in the Philippines where you've got all of that. But I think about that sometimes, because it's like, for me, you know, what's the benefit of going to the Philippines? You know, we've got a house over there in Mindanao that we built and everything, and that's where we're planning to go. And it's kind of like when I moved to that small town out in Oklahoma. When you've got all your family there and your emotional life is wrapped up in that, and you've got kids that you're doing stuff with and family, always something going on with your family and activities with your kids and school and stuff like that. And it's like when I was in Oklahoma, my sister and I were kind of like additional parents for my brother's kids, and taking them around to their gymnastics and dance classes and stuff and school activities. And really, it's like that when you move to the Philippines. You know, you end up in some place where maybe you don't know a lot of other people, and there's not a lot of huge number of activities going on and every little convenience you can imagine. But when your family's there and you have all that stuff going on with the family and the types of activities like that, you don't miss all that other stuff. And it's like with us, you know, where we'll be living. I mean, we got a ton of family over there, and there's always something going on. So you don't have all the modern conveniences, perhaps, though in a lot of places in the Philippines, even more out in the provinces, as they say, a lot of that stuff is really growing and improving. But you still got that small town vibe, which is good. A lot of us kind of like that. But the main thing for me is, if you have all your family there and you're taking care of those activities, there's plenty of stuff to do to stay busy. And I hope that Sunshine Shoulders gets his, I don't know, I guess hope he can get back to the Philippines and back to his dream of living there. But like you say in his video, you know, he had 5 grandkids he had never met yet and everything since the last time, you know, he was here in America. So he has a lot of reasons to stay here family-wise and stuff too. But like he says, you got to get on that hamster wheel and start running and be in the rat race again, you know, because all these conveniences and the American way of life comes with a price. And you see videos talking about people out doing DoorDash 80 hours a week and stuff just to try and not be homeless. And you realize that there's more to life than having all those conveniences. And if you have a nice family and everything, and as long as you've got enough money to get by and enjoy all of that, that's a lot more rewarding for a lot of people than having all these modern conveniences. Just a question of what your priorities are. Anyways, that's my big thought for today. Have to go to work now, make some money, like everybody else here in America.